How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. I am Jason C, and if you're a subscriber, welcome back. Always glad to see you here. If it's your first time watching and you're looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, please hit that subscribe button and please hit that bell notification so you know when I am putting out a new video. Today, I am lucky enough to review with you the ever-popular Weller 12 Wheated Bourbon from Buffalo Trace, a bourbon that has a remarkable history and an even more remarkable present. So Van Winkle bourbons have become essentially inaccessible to the vast majority of bourbon drinkers, so naturally the hysteria has trickled down to the other brands in the Buffalo Trace portfolio. Now the Weller line, which shares the same wheated mash bills as the highly coveted Van Winkles, has been the recipient of the majority of this secondhand enthusiasm. William LaRue Weller, which is released annually as part of the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, has become perhaps the most coveted of that bunch, and supposed lower shelf offerings in the line have seen their popularity skyrocket among whiskey enthusiasts as a result. Perhaps none more than WL Weller 12 Year, which is sitting right here. Now, I tried this bottle way back in 2015, and after 3 long years of trying to acquire my own bottle, I wanted to revisit it and give it a full review. So Weller 12, along with the other Wellers in the line, and also the Van Winkle bourbons, are namely called wheaters, which essentially means it swaps out rye as the secondary grain and uses wheat instead. Now this adds a creaminess to the taste of the bourbon and removes some of that spiciness that the rye brings. Now for this groundbreaking recipe in bourbon, we can thank the man whose name graces the bottle, William LaRue Weller. A little bit about the man, the myth, the legend. So, born in 1825, William LaRue Weller was one of the early whiskey pioneers in Kentucky. After serving with the Louisville Brigade in 1840s, Weller returned to Louisville to open his wholesale liquor business. Weller developed his original bourbon recipe with wheat rather than rye in the mash bill. Weller is reported to have used the slogan, "Honest whiskey at an honest price." He spent his lifetime educating consumers about the differences in his bourbon, and William LaRue Weller's wheated bourbon became so popular that Weller was forced to put a green thumbprint on barrels to ensure that the customers were receiving the real deal. Now, Pappy Van Winkle eventually merged Weller's namesake company with the Stitzel Distillery to form the Stitzel Weller Distillery. That legacy of William LaRue Weller continues to be honored today with award-winning wheated bourbons, Weller 12 Year, Weller Special Reserve, and Weller 107 Antique. So a little bit about the Weller 12, guys. This is distilled at Buffalo Trace Distillery, which a lot of people know. It's owned by Sazerac. This is bottled at 90 proof and aged 12 years. Now, the breakdown for the mash bill is unknown. We do know it's a wheater, but Buffalo Trace's standard wheated mash bill is rumored to be about 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. So let's get into it here. This is a screw cap, which is very surprising. Let's open that up. Let's get a nice pour. Oh, love the sound of pouring a Weller 12. All right, let's get into it, guys. So guys, I've been sitting here swirling this for a couple minutes. I could already smell the nose even from far away. One thing I didn't talk about yet is the price on Weller 12. Now, believe it or not, the MSRP of Weller 12 is only around 35 bucks. But the demand of this bourbon has made it very difficult to find, especially at that price. Price increases at liquor stores and on the secondary market have marked up Weller anywhere from $100 to even $160 per bottle. All right, guys, let's go to the nose. Here we go. Wow, the nose on this is extremely concentrated. If you've ever been to a distillery and walked through a rick house, that's what you're kind of getting in the glass. It has just essence of aging whiskey and bourbon everywhere. It's really cool. It's super vanilla on the nose, like almost like vanilla extract. If you've ever baked anything and you popped open some vanilla extract and you get that powerful smell, that's what you get in here. But it's almost like a creamy vanilla. It's really nice on the nose. You're definitely getting those quintessential, the sweetness, the caramels. There's definitely some almond in there. And then kind of to round it out, you definitely get a really nice oak, like a sweet oak flavor on the nose too. It's just an amazing nose. It's really, really nice. Definitely better than when I remembered it when I had it for the first time. All right, it's time. Let's get into the flavor. Here we go, guys. Cheers. Weller 12. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, so first impression is, okay, so it's very oily. The flavor punch that I'm getting right up front here, it's sticking to my palate really, really nicely. Very oily, very rich. That creamy vanilla and that brown sugar really hit you up front. As it's working its way to the mid palate, well, it just kind of lit up my palate with all that sweetness. So let's take a second sip and see what we get. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, you get that burst of sweetness up front. Definitely get that corn. You get the smoothness of that wheated mash bill. Not a real spice kick. You could really kind of feel the absence of the rye in there. But as it works its way to the mid palate, you get this mix of brown sugar, vanilla, and barrel char. So if you've ever had a creme brulee and you have the, you know, in the top of the creme brulee is, you know, they torch it to make it like a candy shell. That's what it tastes like. It's like breaking through the top of that creme brulee and just taking a piece of that charred brown sugar, the charred sugar, and just taking a bite of it, along with a little bit of the creme brulee, that cream. So you get the vanilla, a little bit of that char, the sugar. It's really sweet. It's super delicious. And what's great is it's sticking with you on the palate. Really, really great. Let's go in for another sip here. Wow. You know what's really interesting? For a 90 proof bourbon, you know, the finish is you know, it's definitely giving you a little bit of kick there. It's not super long. This is more of a low to medium type finish. It's not very long, but I think you're getting enough to kind of feel it there, and you're really getting the feeling of a nice wheated bourbon. It's really easy to sip on, and those sweet flavors are coming through. But the difference in this one is that 12-year age is really giving you some nice mouthfeel in there. The oily and the richness of the bourbon just kind of sticks with you, and it's staying with you from the front of the palate all the way to the back. Really, really translating to the finish too. Let's go in for one last sip, guys. Yeah. So what I look for when I taste bourbons is I really like to see if those flavor profiles stick with you as you keep sipping on it. Or does it kind of level off and go to one flavor profile, and the rest, all that complexity you get in the beginning, just kind of goes away. This is definitely staying with you, and those flavors are coming through from beginning to the end, and even as I sip down. So it's just really great. So what I did here is I poured a little bit of the Special Reserve, the Weller the Green label, because it's the same proof. So I'm going to pour a little bit more of this and just do a quick comparison. It's been a long time since I've had both of them, so kind of want to do a quick compare and see how the flavors are a little bit amplified here. So if you look at the color here, they are both, you know, very much the same color. You would think that Weller 12 is going to be a little bit darker, but it's really not. The Weller 12 and the Weller Special Reserve are kind of the same. Now on the nose, yeah, the nose is two completely different ballparks. This is just pure candy. This is pure candy sweetness. It is corn, vanilla, caramels, sugar, but not deep down sugars. These are bright, sweet flavors. On the Weller 12, now these flavors, aged for 12 years, these are deep, darker, much more intensified notes that you're gonna find in here. So really, really interesting on the nose. Now on the Reserve, yeah, this is probably one of the easiest sipping bourbons you're gonna find. Not only being a wheated bourbon, it is 90 proof, but it's so sweet and so pleasing. It's just great. But with this one, what I was talking about earlier with that complexity is it kind of tails off as you keep sipping on it. And you don't really get a lot of oak flavor on this. It just kind of stays sweet and really pleasant. Whereas on the 12, yeah, on the 12, it's these flavors just amplified, but you're getting those extra dark sugars and the extra kick of a really nice sweet oak on the finish, which definitely gives us a much more rounded out, delicious bourbon experience. All right, guys, so what can I say? All in all, Weller 12 is a classic wheated bourbon with so much flavor to it. It's really great, even better than the first time I had it, I think. Maybe my palate has evolved over time a little bit, but it's definitely super delicious, especially with the, specially selected Weller barrels that go on to become Van Winkles, over time with different barrel management. This could be an absolute steal just if it was easier to find. Now, at MSRP of $30 for this is an absolute steal, but finding it for $30, that's a whole nother ball game. With today's market, a bourbon like this can easily be priced at $50, $60, especially for a 12-year. You see 10-year bourbons on the market now that are priced at $50, $60, and this is probably even better quality. Now, I think once you get to that $100 mark or $120, sometimes $160, I think that's getting past its price point. But that's me. But in today's Wild West of price gouging, bourbon lotteries, and searching the secondary markets, most bourbon enthusiasts are happy to pay more for Weller 12 with such a following behind every bottle. All right, guys, well, thank you for watching the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. I hope you enjoyed this review of Weller 12. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that like button below. Also, if you haven't yet, please find me on Instagram. I love talking with you guys. You could also find me on Twitter. So hope to see you there. Let me know if you've had Weller 12, what you think. And like I always say, it is not about the whiskey. It is the people you share it with. Cheers, everyone, and I will see you next time.